So we're going to talk today about falling in love. Falling in love. What is there? Is there a better feeling in the world than falling in love? Is there any sensation in the whole universe than falling in love? And so when we talk about falling in love with ourselves, it's not easy. It's much easier to fall in love with a projected image, what they call in Jungian terms, the projected anima or the animus, where you take your idealization of the female or the male and you plug it onto this face that you sleep next to. And it lasts for maybe however long the romantic period, the honeymoon period lasts. And then one day you're like, not in love. But to start with, the chemistry, yes, and chocolate, Diane Miller, the chemistry is amazing. And chemistry is falling in love. And essentially, that's unreproducible. We can't reproduce that. It's like they've proven this. I hope you know there's a book written about the science. I just had a client yesterday she's found her partner, she's madly in love, and I'm listening to her talking. All I'm doing, she doesn't see me, is smiling, going, It's a time bomb. I mean, it's a wonderful thing, and it makes life turn around, and I'm sure that's why the bees are singing and the birds are flying. Do bees sing? So here's the deal. We're going to talk about falling in love with you and the function of astrology, and I'm going to give you some stories I haven't given you before because I've got an audience today, and I wanted to keep you all entertained. So bees buzz. Thanks, Patricia. So here's how astrology came to me. That's what I thought I would entertain you. I had a very extreme, unusual family. Raise your hand if you had an unusual family. Whether it was dysfunctional or it was dramatic or it was loving, there was these people that were sitting around your dinner table or in your bedroom when you were going to sleep at night that mystified me, said the astrologer psychologist. I was like, I don't understand why my dad, who had no air in his chart, wouldn't talk. And I don't understand why my mother, who had so much fire, threw things when she got mad. And I don't understand why my brother, the Scorpio, keeps closing the door and going in the room. And I don't understand why my other brother, he always looks like he's double Scorpio, a drug addict. We had no idea that he was floating on the ceiling. I remember being little and thinking he doesn't feel like he's in the room, but he's in the room. So all that dynamic for me in my dramatic upbringing, that I wish I could just do a film with Woody Allen characters and you'd see them in little outfits and you'd say, that's where Debra grew up. And so the quest for me in that middle of that zone, that crazy. So the point of the story was, I walked around in that house and I couldn't figure out what was so wrong, but I knew there were, I don't know, where did we all get the notion of normal? This is the question of the universe. Why in our concept of what should be is normal a word that we use? And if we use the word normal, it's something, it resembles something like you have parents that love you, you sit down at dinner, they get along, you get listened to, you get to go to your dance lessons or to your musician or your artist, and you have a day-to-day practice where people pray before they eat or they hold hands or they say nice things. And I mean, none of us. I have sat with people my whole life. I have a career of listening to you guys. I have big ears. And when I listen to you, what I constantly hear is the psychological warfare that lived in your family, for good or for bad. It could be that your brother got sick and you spent your childhood taking care of your sick brother. Or it could be that your parents got divorced and it broke your heart and you never recovered and you don't realize it, but you gave up on relationships. It doesn't matter what the storyline is, but normal is a television show where they never go to the bathroom. I mean, leave it to Beaver or the Wizard of Oz, or they never went to the bathroom. So the simple answer is there is no such thing as normal, and we don't have a code except with astrology. So before you guys got here today, I was sitting with one of our wonderful, the mistress of the school. Her name is Misty. And I said, Misty, because when we met Misty, she did not know astrology to the level she does now. She's been through all 3 levels. And I was like, do you love yourself? And she said, she realized, I'm quoting you, Misty, if you're here, that her fire was always there and waiting in her psyche, but there was no language for it. And so while she discovered in astrology that she had a grand trine in fire, which is 3 planets, all at 120 degrees, it'd be great if we could just pull that up, Misty. I mean, Carrie, but it's okay. When someone has something as strong as a grand trine in fire and they have lots of energy, but they're a Taurus, so they present as a calm cucumber, but there's this energy hiding under the system, that makes people unlovable to themselves. Like, I'm not being myself, or I can't find my rhythm, or I know for me it was, I was self-conscious about how much I talked when I was a kid. And then I stopped talking because I was so speedy and everything went so fast. And then when I came back to myself after adjusting my personality, because I realized that People didn't like how much I told the truth. They didn't like the fact that I talked so much. So I, as we got older, certainly as a teenager, we all swallow our personality. So here's the story I want to tell you about falling in love with yourself. Ready? I went to a birthday party. I was the astrologer, and it was for 13-year-old girls. And I was on the radio in Vancouver, and someone hired me to come work at it was a private school. It was a very wealthy house. It was on the ocean. It was on the water. It was so beautiful. And they were having a pajama party. And there was a circle of probably about 10 girls sitting in the circle. And I began by talking about astrology and saying, listen, you guys, here's what you need to know. There are different personalities in this room. The job of each of you is to fall in love with who you are, the conversation we're having today. So I then went around the circle. It's such a vivid memory. It was a life changer. The story changed my life. And the first girl that was sitting next to me was the Gemini in the room. And I could tell when we walked in, she was the social one. Everybody knew her. Everybody loved her. They were all playing with her and they were all entertaining. And I opened up her book, my ephemeris, with her chart. And I discovered she had so many planets in water. Now, this is basic astrology 101. For those of you that don't know much, you can just go on astro.com and find out what the distribution of your elements are. This is where I started. So I found out that this little girl had like 4 planets in water, 1 planet in air, Gemini, and the rest of her was all Earth. So she was really a very calm and very sensitive being who presented like a little dippy-doo-dah Gemini that could play with everybody and was so friendly and so social. So I open the book and I say to her, excuse me, are you super emotional? Like, is it easy for you to cry? And she starts to cry. So it's a pajama party and they're 13 and they're sitting in a circle. They're 12, most of them. And I'm there being the birthday party celebration and the girl starts to cry. And she says, I hate that part of myself. I wish it would go away. I don't like being so sensitive. And then the girls all come running around her and give her a little hug and they go, no, no, Susie, we love that part of you. And I think to myself, this isn't a good birthday party. Girls crying, let's keep going. I get to the next girl. And the next girl was this foreigner. We were in Canada, but she was from like, I want to say Romania, but she had this cute little accent. She had a teddy bear with her. She was a Taurus. She was very shy. I open up the ephemeris and I say to her, my God, you're so shy and you're so quiet and you're so gentle. And she starts to cry. I hate that part of myself. Why do I have to be the one that's so gentle? Why can't I be strong like her? The one sitting next to her, we just found out was a Gemini in disguise, was really a sensitive one. So then they're both crying. Now they go running over to the Taurus and they say to her, honey, we love that you're so gentle and you're just here from another country and your language is, but it's don't feel self-conscious. Well, of course the Taurus felt self-conscious. Then we went to the next girl. Marcella, that's funny. Then we went to the next girl and I swear, she was the Leo in the room and she had a little negligee on. She was like this super cool girl and she was a dancer. And of course I opened the book and I said, gee, you're something of a show off. You have a lot of need for attention. And all the girls started to laugh. They were like, oh my God, she's being trained in the Canadian ballet. She was a Leo. She was archetypical. And of course she started to cry because the girls started laughing and she was like, I don't mean to be bossy. I don't mean to be the one that tells everybody what to do. And then they all go running over. And now I'm like, this is not good. They're paying me for this trip. I'm helping these people learn about who they are, these little people. And every person I'm turning to starts to cry. Then we get to then we get to the next girl. She's a Scorpio, super quiet, sitting back, watching me. And I say to her, oh, so you're the little girl who's probably feeling really nonverbal a lot of the time and you have some negative side to you. And she starts to cry. Why am I the one that's the mean one? And all the girls know I'm mean. And they all go running over. I love Scorpios too, Patricia. They all go running over to her. So I say, okay, listen. And then the best part was I got to the Aquarian girl who said, my mom's into astrology and I know myself. And my mom had and of course I was like, well, naturally you're like the advanced. It was like, I think God set this up, this whole encounter, because I was there to see what happens to each one of us as teenagers is we hate that part of ourselves. We don't know how to accept that the little Gemini is a mush push and the little Leo's a show off and the little Scorpio's got the devious side and the little Taurus can't. These are personality traits that don't go away. Are you with me? Now, they all cried at the end. They did, Julie. They cried. Almost every single one of them cried except the Aquarian whose mother was an astrologer or knew astrology. And then I said to them, okay, girls, listen to me. I know 12-year-old girls live to cry. That's so true, Erin. Then I said to all of them at the end, I said, listen, one of them said, this is how it really got to the punchline. She said, and I told all of them, I said, listen, you're angels. You've all come down to this life. You know, this is probably 1980. I want to say this is these girls are probably all in like professionals now. That's so funny to think about it. This was probably 1980. 5. I was living in Toronto. I had a radio show. I was living in Vancouver and I had a radio show. And at the end, I was telling these girls, listen, you guys, just so you know, you're all angels. And then here's the funny part of what happened. I said to them, you're all allowed to be yourselves. This is the whole exercise here. And then one turned to me and she said, do you like who you are? And I said, as a matter of fact, I do. And she went, ew, that's the most conceited thing I ever heard. And all the girls, and I realized, well, you weren't allowed when you were a teenager to like who you were. Conceited was the worst word. That was like a curse. Like if you were conceited, you were like a bad person according to a teenager. Do you remember that? So the point of the story is, how do we rewrite the story now? How do I help you rewrite the story? That you can be in love with yourself. There's nothing conceited about it. And it's totally counterintuitive. Because in the collective, starting with my family, who was completely crazy, 1, we had no idea what normal was. And 2, we had no idea what it was to feel good about ourselves. Because the nature of the human is built. The default is to go into being sad. Oh, sorry, I just covered the volume. Okay, let me do that again. I love that. So there's 2 things at work here. One is, as a kid, you were looking for normal. Everybody was seeking normal, normal, normal. Everybody wanted to be normal, which there is no such thing. We already got that. 2, the sound is still bad. It's coming right back. Here it is. 1, you were trying to be normal. 2, you were doing everything to avoid being conceited. Like the worst thing that could happen as a teenager is that you would be the girl or the boy who thought highly of themselves. Can you believe that story? Tell me you can hear me now, Carla Miller.
It still is a little bit muted, but we can hear you.
Okay, tell me if that's better. I just fixed it.
Not yet, but it takes a minute sometimes.
It's going to be better. I'm going to make this whole thing come to life. Watch this. The great story, Shannon Webster, is these teenage girls. So I want you to think back to when you were a teenager. And what was the part of yourself you were self-conscious about? Was it about your skin? Was it about your body? Was it about your brother? Was it about the sexual abuse you couldn't tell anyone? Was it about your parents being completely disagreeable and fighting all the time? Was it about how you couldn't do well in school and you felt so self-conscious? Or, and I've heard these stories over 40 years, you were doing so well in school, you felt so self-conscious because you were too smart, you were too pretty, you were too something or other. And being conceited, the worst. So, too shy, my nose, I love this. My rules were don't talk, just trust and don't feel. Too shy to communicate. So here's the deal. Oh my God, look at them all. This is the nature. Listen, together we're sitting on an internet computer and we are having the future arriving here and now. You're in the future. Can I tell you that? This is the future. There would come a time when we imagined we would go on a computer and there would be 350 people in a room that were all interested in astrology to rewrite the definition of normal. It's just a setting on the dryer. Somebody wrote on Facebook that he went to look on the dryer. There was no normal on the dryer. I have normal on my dryer. I was fat, and I am now, but I love it now, Janine Snow. I love that story. So what if right now, you guys, can we do it together? Can we just say that you are allowed to have that awkward part of you? Let's talk about it. So let's do water, people. I'm too sensitive and I get my feelings hurt. And the nature of that water kids in that group, that little Scorpio girl was so self-conscious about her intense sexual energy. The little Cancer girl was so self-conscious how she got her feelings hurt. All I have to do as an astrologer, that's why you come to my school, or more importantly, you read my book and you find out what element is yours that's wrong, is rewrite the story to the water people. You're supposed to cry every day. A water person should have something move them all the time. And you air people, you're supposed to talk a lot. That's your function. Not only should you talk a lot, but you should be able to be open-minded about the fact that it's hard to make a decision and you can tease yourself about it and be okay about it and make it not go away because these things don't go away. I need a scholarship. I'm super sensitive yesterday. You guys are so cute. I just love how you're writing all this. If it's Earth and you guys are workaholics or you're a perfectionist or you never feel like you're getting enough done, as soon as your observer's on, let's talk about the observer. So what happened to these girls was I walked out of that place. I didn't tell you that part. And I said to all of them, you're angels, just so you know. And as I was leaving, the mom was standing at the door and all the girls were in their PJs and she was waving. And she said, bye, angel. And I thought, that is so crazy that I just inserted into a teenage thought process. that their weird part, you ask your kids tonight at dinner, what part of you do you wish would go away? That's so good, Julia Gardner. What part of you, if you're not a workaholic, Susan, you think you'll be bored? Will fail if bored. You can be a workaholic. My weirdness, skin problems. Listen, the soul does not have eyes. Write that down. The soul sees through the eyes of love. That's all your soul does. Your soul's so in love with you. There's a part of you, and this is what exercise I want to give you for homework, to fall in love with yourself. This is what happens in the astrology class. When I asked Misty, what was it about you falling in love with yourself? Her single answer was the astrology class. That once she got to understand her nature and she had language for the fire, and she realized, I think it was Kiki that told her, it was Jen that told her, it's a low simmer, your fire all the time. You can turn it up or turn it down. So liberating to know who we are. I no longer have a problem with myself, Renee. I'm so happy. There's the link to the class. I want you to, I wish I could give this class to everybody. Weight issues. You know what happens, Marty, with weight issues? It's so, gravity is so hard. It's so hard to lose weight once you get started in this movie. And I'm doing a cleanse. I think I'm going to invite everyone to it, a vegetable juice cleanse with just salads and steamed vegetables and a little bit of protein. There's a wisdom to know, and a cleanse, by the way, it's one way you could save money. Stop eating and save money for your class. I'm making kombucha. Okay, let's go back to how do you fall in love with yourself? It's not about looking in the mirror because your soul has no eyes. It's about falling in love with the agreement that you made, that you wanted to be here and you wanted to make a difference. And if my job this lifetime is to help you get excited about you, if that's my job, and I can turn you on to getting other people excited about them, we've done it. Then politics, leave us alone. Then breaking up with people, who cares when you know you can come home to you? Falling in love with yourself, just don't use wheatgrass. I can't use wheatgrass. Okay, so I want to do this right now. I want to do a soulful meditation with us. I want to take this moment. Let's everybody, you can either close your eyes or just stare at the computer. Is that my picture? Are you all looking at my picture? That's so funny. Okay, here we're going to channel. You got it, Patricia. Let's invoke right now. There's 350 people in this room. And every one of you are going to open up the top of your head as though there was a lens of a camera on the top of your head, a shutter lens that just opened up really wide. You can put your hand on the top of your head and just imagine you just opened it up. You can tap the top of your head. All of us, it's going to look so funny. Tap, 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 tap. Okay, open top chakra. I'm inviting in this magical life force that's always streaming, but I'm increasing the voltage right now so I can be aware of this amazing amount of life that is constantly animating my body. Take a deep breath with me. Breathe out. I welcome the channel that talks to these beings in this middle of the cyberspace about the privilege of being in a body, that the temple of your body and the library of your mind has access to this big stream of light on the top of your head right now that we just opened up to our awareness. And they're sparkling, tingling lights, whether it's white or gold or silver, there's light streaming with your eyes closed. You can see them as though it was a waterfall of rain, straight down from the heavens, from the top of the sky, past the stratosphere, right down your head, moving right through your body. Take a deep breath in. And feel the tingles as the energy goes down, down, down your spine, down your vertebrae, down to your tailbone, and down to your imaginary cord where you're sitting into the center of the earth. Every one of us has our vertical connection lined up. And now we bow our head and we surrender to the willingness of this soul that is in my body to be completely in union with my ego who has been out of whack. And suddenly she's being soothed as my soul, take a deep breath in, gets absolutely present by the streaming of this life force going through the top of my head, down my spine, down my vertebrae. There's an incredible energy that's coming through each and every one of us. It's allowing your body to remember the pleasure and the privilege of being here now. Feel a smile on your face. It's as though you just got the joke. that your soul's been waiting for you to make a marriage of sorts, to make a union, as we're doing right now in consciousness, between, take a deep breath in, the life force that's streaming down right now, down, down, down your spine, down your neck, down your vertebrae, down your tailbone, down the cord that's leaving at the tail of your bone, the tailbone going down into the earth, and it anchors into a gold brick. And every one of us in this room are anchored. I can feel the heat. And now let there be a smile on your face as though you are bowing your head with a grin to your soul and remembering in this moment that you agreed in this lifetime to come here exactly the way you are, with exactly the story that you have. And your soul is so relieved that you've just drawn a connection between your soul and your ego and your body and your mind and your heart, and they are now intertwined and dancing and consciously doing so. It's always been true that your ego and your soul were waiting to get married. Imagine there's wedding bells. And as your soul takes your ego into her arms, into her breath, into your cells, she's saying, I love you just the way you are. And I'm so grateful you took on this life and the chart that you have, and that you're part of this tribe, and that you've opened your mind enough to suspend the world that exists at the horizontal with our eyes open. You've suspended that for a moment. There's no politics, there's no time, there's no storyline. There's just this vertical connection between your soul and your ego and your body, saying, thank you so much for the union that's always been here, but now I'm consciously saying to myself, I love being in a body. Just lie for a moment. Tell the truth, whichever it is. Take a deep breath in and just say it out loud. I love being in a body. Feel yourself grin and smile. The joke is out. This was an agreement between you and your soul and your body, exactly as you are. You're falling in love. You don't even need the chart right now. You just need the breath. Another deep breath in. And let the tingles be expressed as you sit up a little straighter. I love being in a body. And now open your eyes. Wow. I so felt that. What if all 361 of us loved being in a body just the way it is? There's no more arguments. There's no more discrepancy. There's no more split between the mind and the heart, between the soul and the ego. You can change the planet right here, right now by falling in love with being in a body. Please, you guys, please. Your soul, Sonia, I'm so glad there's tears. Your soul is longing. On the back of my business cards, no one ever noticed this for the last 20 years. It said, the pleasure of being in a body. And no one ever asked me, what does that mean? Because I am committed to being pain-free, and I am committed to being in pleasure. So every day I go outside, and every day I give myself permission to see the love and the beauty. Every single day. That's your job. But it's a full workout, you guys. This is a workout. Okay. Now I have to hold you for 1 minute. Of course. Okay. Someone just knocked. You know who it was? It was my soul coming in to see me. And then I said, come on in. That's what it was a symbol. That was the funniest story. It's the symbol that when you go knock, like we just did in that meditation, and you give yourself permission to fall in love with you from your soul to your body to your ego, the world changes. And this tribe, these 362 of you that are sitting here, these are your people. Because when people transcend with their eyes closed in a meditation, the horizontal plane, and they connect to the vertical, everything gets so simple. By the way, this is why death is not to be feared. Because when you close your eyes and you go back to the vertical, it's the most graceful, gracious, loving place. Anybody you read anything about life after death, guys, go get the book. It's called Billy Fingers, The Afterlife of Billy Fingers. Can you write that down, Carrie? Go get that book and find out the pleasure of the beings on the other side and why so many people that have near-death experiences don't want to come back. But our job is to bring heaven on earth right here in our body right now. And you're doing it with me. And it's so simple, Esther. It's so simple. All you have to do is give yourself permission for 10 minutes a day. By the way, on my website, there's a free meditation. All of you go to my website, it'll download in your computer. It's 5 to 7 minutes long with that vertical connection. If you do that on a daily basis and you retrieve yourself into your soul, you retreat, you go back to the retreat of the center of your being where you're calm, all the noise of the ego and the drama and the politics and the money and your body, they all get quiet. You want to have a holiday? Meditate. And yes, it's a marriage. We just had a marriage ceremony. And your soul is giggling and laughing and going, how did you find Debra Silverman? So I'm going to end here. You guys, here's the message. There's an astrology course starting, as you probably know, February 20th, the week of February 20th. The cart closes in 1 week. And the class is simply you discovering what is it that you don't like about you and reframing it from the divine angle that God was not making a mistake when she made you. Write that down. God was not making a mistake when she made you. And meditation is so simple. So if you can't afford the class, go get my free meditation on my website. I love giving away free things. That's my favorite thing. Yes, Amber. Timing. Just start putting $100 away a month. You guys can take it starts again, the astrology class in January. Nope, September. God didn't make a mistake when she made you. Okay, you guys. I do give away the classes for free, Camilla. That's what I've been doing. That's what I'm doing right here. Thank you, Joy. I think we've done it. This was a short webinar. It was a marriage. And it was about allowing yourselves to stop judging who you are as though you were a teenager and reviewing and rewriting and reframing the personality trait that you have that you think is so annoying. Because by the way, it's not going away.